interesting to say today that I was going to say to Steve, don't you find in writing that you get, and I find this,
yes.
you get a bit kitchen sinky, and that is you find something you really like and you try and shove everything in. And I do it a lot in Star Trek with things. And I have to kind of go through the notes and go, no, we just need one simple story.
That's part of my process. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find I do, by the way, hi everybody, we're live. We're talking, well, I know, I mean, I love talking about writing. This is, I mean, I have a problem of like, especially when I'm writing like a video script and I'm bringing up examples and I have to tell myself, okay, you don't need all these examples. You know what I mean? Like I'll think of like 6 or 7 things that I could, reference. And I think, okay, I'm not doing all of these, I only need 1 or 2 or 3. Like I don't, and it could be just examples that I'm just rattling off in a single sentence, or it could be examples that I'm going to go into more detail with, like in a video essay or something. And then of course, like especially if it's like a nerdy thing, if it's like a Star Trek thing or something, there'll always be people in the comments that'll be like, well, you didn't mention this, and you didn't mention this, and you didn't mention this. And I'm like, okay, but I probably had that in mind, but I decided I didn't want to make a fucking 4-hour video. So I cut it out because I felt I could make the point better.
It's like you said about Prodigy. Prodigy doesn't, a lot of Star Trek series, they tend to not just hold the keys and shake them in front of you and say, oh, look what's in the garage. They grab you by the lapels, drag you across to the garage or the car and go, looky here, looky, it's the age-old jet propulsion pack from such and such. And you're supposed to go, oh, but I've done it myself. I did it when I was doing the notes for this Pride and Prejudice variation. I was going to have, because basically this Lady Catherine takes her revenge on Elizabeth and whisks her away from Pemberley to be secreted in a lunatic asylum. Yes, I did do the bloody research. And I was going to pull in the woman that takes her in. I was going to pull her in being ostracized by her family. And my husband, who's really good at reading, goes, Cara, that's too much. You can't, the basic plot is Darcy and Elizabeth getting back together. It's got to be, because he's read some of my Pride and Prejudice variation, not mine, but other people's. Goes, no, it's the HEA, the happy ever after, the one true couple. They've got to get back together. Even if you pull other secondary characters in, you cannot have this one person flouncing off because her family have disowned her. It's too much. So just leave that for another one.
Exactly.
I don't write in the kind of stuff that you guys do, but as somebody who's been a DM/GM for over 40 years, you have to write adventures, right? So you have to write. So there has to be a plot line. There has to be, there's the players are the protagonists. The various NPCs are antagonists or helpers at various points. And I write like a decision tree based on things people might do, but. So there is that same tendency to like do the kitchen sink, and it's funny because I don't generally like that's why I don't like mega dungeons, because they're very kitchen sinky. However, I'm doing a mini campaign, and when I do my mini campaigns, I do get kitchen sinky because it's basically something that's supposed to last for several months. And so for anyone who plays D&D, I'm doing an expanded version of the Isle of Dread, where I made the island 4 times the size, and I've populated it with not only stuff that was in the original module. I've also embedded other classic modules in the module, plus some of my own stuff, and also a lot of like pop culture, well Gen X pop culture stuff. So it's like I got the Land of the Lost. There was a Land of the Lost section. The players found the castaways from Gilligan's Island, and that's become a major plot point because each one of them has become the leader of a village, and there's kind of a conflict going on. So it's and there's more. There's going to be kaiju. There's going to be, So I'm just throwing the fucking kitchen sink into this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it can be tough because like, it's the old idea of murder your darlings. I mean, they are your darlings. Like, you do, if you're a writer, you probably like your own ideas, and, you have to sort of be I mean, this is where if you're a professional writer, working with a good editor can help, because the editor can be the ruthless one and say, you need to lose this, you need to lose this, you need to lose this, you know, and then they sort of make the decision for you, and then you say, okay, you're right, you know, let's try this a different way. But if you're just writing for yourself, or you're your own editor, you know, then you have to be ruthless yourself, and you have to say, okay, my job here is to make the finished product as good as it can be, not to fit all my shit in. You know, like that's not the purpose. Okay, a whole bunch of hands are up, so I'm going to start with the hands. So Geek, you first.
Okay, so apparently April's a lot of different like months as well too, but I'm just going to focus on I'm going to focus on one that like a friend of mine alerts me to, that like also March is like Women's Month as well too. Oh, apparently April's like Black Women's History Month too. But also, unfortunately, Confederacy History Month. So fuck that.
Well,
of course, they have to be the same month.
Hey, there's a way to do Confederate History Month and have it.
They lost
like all the losses, all the times that terrible things happen to Confederates. You can celebrate those.
Fly a white flag in front of your house. That's it. That's
there you go. There you go. The Confederate flag.
Anyway, but like the next month, April, is National Autism Awareness Month, and I put quotes around awareness.
We need to be accepted, not aware.
Yes, exactly. That's why I was going to like share Isaiah, because like they say someone like shared on Facebook, don't support Autism Speaks. Just fuck that. Don't use puzzle pieces symbols as like because it's offensive to also this community. We're not this puzzle pieces. We're not incomplete people as well too. I'm putting myself in that, but I'm just ADHD, not autistic.
Always incomplete with somebody.
Don't light up blue as well too. Probably another organization to do lunch. But what they advocate for: listen to autistic people's voices. Actually, autistic. Celebrate neurodiversity, which again, neurodiversity includes like ADHD and learning disabilities like dyslexia, dysgraphia, all those sort of things. Share posts about or like by autistic people. We need autism acceptance, not autism awareness. Hashtag autism acceptance. Majority of autistic people prefer to be classified as autistic or autistic person rather than a person with autism. Ask them what they prefer as well too. And a lot of disabled people prefer disabled people, not a person with a disability, because I'm not an incomplete person, and my disability is part of who I am as well too, like any other like marginalized category as well too. Use the rainbow infinity symbol that represents neurodiversity, or use the gold infinity symbol for autism acceptance as well too. And there you go, I'm done now.
Okay, quick question as it comes to that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
What's the difference between dyslexia and dysgraphia?
Dyslexia is word blindness, basically. I cannot spell for the life of me as well too. It has, for others, it was a difficulty to like read, but like this is kind of like a different kind of things. Like this calculus as well too, where basically they have really difficulty with math things and like that. Dysgraphia. Dysgraphia, I have to like look it up specifically. I remember hearing it before. Like, it's kind of like how like you have word blindness. It can be things with images as well too. Another kind of like different things. But yeah,
quickie question.
Sure.
Okay, dysgraphia is a learning disability that affects a person's ability to write.
Okay.
There you go. That makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
Quick question: is the term on the spectrum acceptable?
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Just want to be clear, and I also wanted a quick throw in. Ages and ages ago, on a dial-up BBS bulletin board service, for those of us who actually remember them, there was a lovely gal who was dyslexic on that board. Her handle, Liz Dexia, and she was
that's great.
She was just a
that's good. That's good.
I should have mentioned that, like, I'm not autistic myself, but the others who are in the call that are autistic, like Nick or like Isaiah, they can speak up if they like if being on the spectrum is acceptable to them.
Hey, I do have something to add, just a reiteration of something I wrote down the other day. So, at this late date, any public figure who acts like they don't know that autistic people used to just be locked up, you know, like autistic kids chained up to radiators and or killed, they're pretending not to know that because they have an agenda. They want to revise history and make it out like, oh, we're just this recent phenomena that just popped up. But I got bad news for them. Autism is genetic. It isn't vaccines or fungus or metal or dust, right? If your kid is autistic, you're autistic, or their other parent was, or maybe.
Go ahead. And by the way, I recall seeing television shows that addressed autism, not necessarily in good ways, but because we didn't know as much about it then, or we didn't understand it as well as we do now. But back when I was a kid, and I'm old, so
yeah, it's not a new thing.
I'll be 57 in a few months.
People use it. People use it to fearmonger. That's when you see people like posting these like right-wing memes about like, oh, in 1990 it was 1 in this many people, and now in 2025 it's 1 in, like, as though the actual number of autistic people is increasing for some nefarious reason, when actually it's just more people are being diagnosed, and
somebody needs to tell them that the reportage has gotten better.
Whereas
exactly,
they used to stick them in asylums.
Oh yeah.
Also, you need to tell them that autism isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not worse than death. I swear, so many parents in this country,
contagious.
they would.
I can remember.
Hey, let him talk. Let Nick talk. Jesus, stop talking over people.
I could swear. I'm almost done. I can swear that there really are parents in this country who would rather have a dead child than an autistic one. I don't know why they hate autism so much, why they think it's so scary. But if I realize for some of them, they don't want to accept that the autism came from them, even if it was so mild that they didn't get diagnosed, or maybe even skip a generation. I don't. But it's because they feel like, well, then I have to blame myself for doing this to them. I have to hate myself. No, you don't. You don't have to feel bad about that. Be happy for them. There's nothing wrong with autism.
I never blame my parents. I said, when I finally got diagnosed, one of the things that the chap who kind of sorted the doctor said, have you ever had a major meltdown? And he said, a major meltdown over something that you think back on and you think was so inconsequential that you don't even understand why you did it.
Yes.
And I did. I came home, and please don't ask me why, I don't know. I came home to find the vacuum cleaner had been left in the hall. My mum just got back from hospital. She'd been quite ill and her leg was up in a cast. And for some reason, I had an absolute meltdown. And I do mean the kind of tears, crying, absolute incoherency. And I still don't understand why.
So I swear I'm just about done.
Please finish your thought, Nick.
Yes. Okay. So again, these parents, they feel like, oh well, I can't accept that the autism came from me, because then that makes me the bad one. It's like, no, don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong with being autistic. Like, be happy for them. They will get to experience joys that neurotypicals could never understand. Anyway,
I just want to make one point real quick before I move on to Isaiah, who has his hand up next.
Serious Mind also had his hand up. The thing about Zoom, that once someone talks, that like their hand would be put down if you don't cancel that as well too. So like,
anyway.
But anyway.
But anyway, so I'll get to you in a second, Isaiah. But about it also being Confederacy Awareness Month, it switched something in my head. I just watched a couple days ago, for like the third or fourth time, I watched the old Hal Holbrook Mark Twain TV special.
Oh God, those from, like, are the so 60s. Good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And because the one that was actually shown on TV in like 1966 or 67 is on YouTube. And he tells, and of course, the whole thing is he's in character as Mark Twain, and he's basically reciting, from Twain's actual writings. And he talks about how during the Civil War, he joined the Confederacy for a few weeks, and then he deserted. And then he takes a little pause, and then he says, and then the Confederacy fell. as though the two events are connected. It's like once I deserted, it was over for them. I love that, and his delivery of it is just perfect. Isaiah, your hand's up. Go for it.
I was gonna a few things. So as Nick said, there's nothing wrong with being autistic, because some of us can actually do cool shit like this.
Oh yeah,
that's a bead. Yeah,
that actually lights up. Yep.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, so some of us are actually really good because we can do art shit like that. Also, about writing. So I'm writing this movie script. I haven't done it. I haven't touched it in a bit, so I need to get back to it. But I tend to like So it's a monster. It's like a B movie, like monster movie from like the early 90s that I'm making. So I'll like watch a movie from that period, like an action movie from that period, and get kind of like the general gist of what the plot is and how to make the story, and then just like transfer that information into the computer and then write, let all the stuff come out of my head, let someone read it, then they can just critique and say, well, this is what this needs to be, this is what that needs to be, and then I can just go ahead, then I can just go back and just make the critiques on my own when I'm, after I got the after I got the feedback. So, and because Steve, you said that one time about just write, worry about the editing later. Right? That's what I like to do. I just
a creative process flow.
I think that's a good process. I mean, different writers write in different ways, and it's just, I mean, there's no correct way to do it. But yeah, I mean, especially if you're writing a movie or any project that is going to be of a fairly decent length, you know, where and you probably have, like we were talking earlier, you probably have a lot of ideas, you know, just get it all out. Just get it all out. And then you go back and you read and you think, okay, you know, how do I chip away and sort of hone it into what I want it to be, you know? But yeah, the first draft, and again, not everybody writes that way. Some, like I know Dana writes in like the exact opposite way. And the end product is always good. Like Dana's a really good writer, but it takes her forever because every sentence has to be right before she moves on to the next sentence. And that's just her process. But I don't know if I could write that
after all.
That's a good way to do it too.
Improv everything.
I mean, I'm mad people who can write like that because I can't. And like I said, I wrote these about 3 chapters, and I'd written this one chapter where she goes back in time and the family basically disown her. And I said, my husband read my notes and he got a big black marker and he big sharp and he went, no. And I said, what do you mean, no? And he said, we don't need to go back in time to find out. We know that she's got a really bad port wine birthmark. We know her family have basically said you have to pretend to be married and go and live in a little village. We don't need them disowning her because it takes us away from the main plot. And the main plot is a Pride and Prejudice variation. He said, we don't need this. And I said, but how do we say her family is noble? He said, you can bring that in at the end. You don't have to. The story is about Elizabeth and Darcy. It's not about this unknown person. You create.
Yeah, and once you I think even as a writer, you always forget how little it takes. Like if there's just a particular piece of information or a particular character trait or just something that you need the audience to have in its head for something else in the story to make sense or to mean something, you don't need to fucking hammer at it for 5 pages. Like it can just be a sentence. It can just be a reference. It can just something to let people know this exists. This is part of it. So when it comes back later, they know what it is. You know, you don't need to italicize and underline and go into gross detail about every single thing. Yeah.
This is significant.
Exactly.
Yes,
Did you get that?
Upset me most was the fact the first romance novel I did, it's about a girl who comes back. She's about 20 when she returns from the Peninsular War, and she'd eloped at 15, and her parents had basically cast her out. And everybody I talked to, who I gave a copy of the book to, said, "Why do her parents treat her like shit?"
Yeah.
And I kind of kept saying, "But that's what would have happened." You know, we're talking 1815. She would have brought disgrace on the family. She's got a younger sister. Her father has just been made head of what was the victualling board in Portsmouth. So he's in charge of all the foodstuffs and artillery and all the stuff that goes onto ships. Do you think they could actually still associate? Think of Lydia in Pride and Prejudice. But everybody I talked to said, "Oh, nobody would do that." And you're thinking, "Oh God, they're not getting it, are they?" You know, when you get the feeling that nobody's got what you're trying to write about.
Yeah. Raphael, lessons learned. Your hands up.
Well, talking about critique, and I'm going to point out to Steve, and
Yes.
your darlings, apparently you cannot not pass a episode without mentioning A Measure of a Man.
Oh yeah, I have talked about it a lot, haven't I, lately?
Yeah, which I understand. It's a good episode, but it's like, oh, okay, this is the 15 minutes where Steve talked about A Measure of a Man. Do I remember that episode? Let me see if I have a copy of it. I will watch it right now.
You know,
It's a drinking game now.
Yeah. I did the second, or no, I guess because I know that I've done at least 3 like jokey plot summaries of it in various videos. And 2 just recently, because I did the retro review like a month ago, and then I just did it again for the season 2 video I just did. And I was aware of it then, and I was doing it consciously because I was like, let me flex a little bit and show that I can do this again without repeating jokes, and I can, but yeah, I have talked about it a lot. I'm gonna have to be more careful of that. Yeah,
I love it, but there's a limit. Yeah,
right now. Oh, I wonder if there's a reason why right now courts determining who should be treated like human is a thing that's on Steve's mind.
Why is that relevant now in particular?
I wonder.
I don't know.
Could it possibly have something to do with the fact that the courts are just about the only guardrail left in our government?
Yeah, and wouldn't it be nice if all it took was just an inspiring speech in favor of human rights to fix everything?
And, the courts are doing their job, but the Trump administration is going, all right, that's a nice court order. I'm going to ignore that. They're just doing the bad stuff anyway, and no one is stopping
they're pulling
them.
Well, because there's no mechanism to stop them, Nick. That's the problem. There's no.
How many divisions does the judge have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I said in one of my videos a couple weeks ago. It's Trump's Andrew Jackson bullshit.
Yeah,
like, well, the court has made its decision. Let's see them enforce it. Like, it's that mentality.
What I've realized, like, part of what got us here. I mean, firstly, I do in large part blame Gamergate. As soon as that whole anti-SJW movement started, that was the beginning of the end for us. But also, looking at like politics. The thing is, like, okay, you look at what Democrats are good at and what Republicans are good at, and you look at a lot of, like, their degrees, things that they went to college for. And Democrats, they tend to have things like economics, things that would actually be useful policy wise. Or Republicans excel at things like marketing. And you look at everything they do; it's all slogans. I mean, you think about like all the brands, we use, like, well, the snack that smiles back. Everything has this little jingle is like an earworm. Well, that's what Republicans do. They turn everything into an earworm. They take complex issues and they oversimplify it into 3 or 4 words. They're really deceptive, but that sticks. And that's why we keep losing, because Democrats aren't good at that.
They appeal to the lizard, our limbic brain, also known as the lizard brain.
That's true. That's true.
The problem is, you see, that if you could get, I don't think this would happen, so please don't all shout at me. If you could get Democrats and Republicans to work together, they would be
that's not going to happen.
Force. No,
that's not going to happen.
She said not to yell at her. She said not to yell at her.
But the reason
the Republicans have the way of simplifying it down. The Democrats have the good ideas. If you could get them to meld,
because the Republicans.
That's impossible.
The Republicans are counter to all the things. In fact, the Republicans are even counter to things that the Democrats want to do that the Republicans also want to do.
It's impossible.
So they can't even work together on the things they agree on. So there's no way in hell they're going to work together
like the border bill.
Things, because Republicans don't want to do things for you and I. They want to do things for their masters or their billionaires.
You know what's the most nuts example of that? As far as like not even all Republicans support the things Republicans want to do, that I've seen recently, when the Senate just voted to overturn the $5 cap on overdraft fees. The only Republican who voted against it was fucking Josh Hawley, who, like, 999 times out of 1,000, he is the biggest fucking dipshit in the world, the most shameless, boot-licking, ass-kissing fascist in the world. But for some reason, this one thing bothered him, and he voted against it. And he said, I don't see why we as the Senate are siding with the big banks and not with the working people.
Because once upon a time, he bounced a couple of checks.
Exactly. I mean, maybe that's it. But it's like, what? How does this one? I mean, he's right in this one specific instance. He's right, but how does like that slip through the cracks of his fascist brain.
It's always unenlightened self-interest with Republicans. Like they hate people and trans people unless they find one in their family that they still want to love. There's it's always, you know, it's just like all these people who voted for Trump to do all the horrible things he's doing and are now like, I didn't know the horrible thing was going to happen to me.
I'm a government worker. I didn't know.
One second. The worst of
it. Hey, let him go.
It's one thing if they learned the lesson and saying, okay, I voted for something that was really bad. I didn't realize until it happened to me how bad it was going to be. No, they're like, no, he should be doing the bad thing. I just didn't want me to happen to me.
Exactly.
Like, well, then you haven't learned.
I just want to carve out.
You haven't fucking learned. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm glad
why
they got
is it
hurt.
that only writers, and most of us are, can see the way the shift's going? For example, take vaccines, for example. Yeah. Some of us, and one of the reasons my husband and I can't have children is twofold. One, he got mumps in his second year at uni. Mumps affect sperm count. And it affects that kind of thing, which is why when the mumps vaccine was first administered, it was offered to boys, not girls. The same way with rubella. The reason rubella is offered to girls before it was offered to boys when it first came out was because rubella affects the fetus.
Yeah.
And it affects women. It's the reason. Anyway, he got mumps. I've got PCOS, so we can't have children. We have 2 mad cats instead, but never mind. But what I'm going to say is, why is it that writers can see the projection of not giving vaccines or having someone like RFK in place who is anti-vaccine, who is anti-everything, that's kind of going to stop these outbreaks of things like measles and mumps and polio and whooping cough and everything else. And my parents would have been outraged at this, because both of them, as most of you know, were science-based. And if they had hit it, if somebody had suggested this, I think my parents would have marched on Washington by themselves and grabbed him and shaken him until his teeth rattled. They'd have waited outside his house and shaken him.
Allow me to quote something I think will simplify the whole conversation. And you probably heard this quote before, but it's worth repeating. Conservatism consists of exactly one proposition. There must be in-groups whom the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups whom the law binds but does not protect.
Know that one well.
They want to preserve the pyramid of power where they see themselves on the top, and they understand that the people at the bottom are necessary for the system to be maintained, and they have to be kept in the bottom. All these things are about keeping those other people in line.
Right.
That's called the pecking order.
Actually conserving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because if these people rise to power, or even share power, their belief is sharing is not caring. So the whole thing would flatten down and collapse. And they come to believe that it's either the system or nothing. If the system exists, no matter how bad it is what it is, and we're okay. The moment the system goes away, it's utter and complete chaos and, death and destruction and at the end of everything.
Dogs and cats living scared.
They cannot conceive of anything outside of the system.
Yes, they can't see anything good outside the system. I agree.
And as far as what you were asking, Cara, about, why do writers see this? First, I don't think it's just writers that have figured this out, but I take your point. I do think you're onto something. I think maybe it's when you have become accustomed to looking at things in terms of narrative, you form expectations differently, and it's you see certain things happening and you think, oh, I know what's next, or at least I have a reasonable expectation of what's next. If this happens, then okay, well then this is going to happen next, because that's part of the job of a at least when you're writing fiction or you're writing narrative, whether it's fiction or not, it's okay, you need to know what happens after this, what happens as a result of this. If my character does this, what happens next because they made this choice. And when you study history, it's the same thing. It's, why did we fight World War II? What led up to it? What were the causes, and how did those causes yield, these results? And unfortunately, I don't think everybody thinks that way. I think a lot of people, especially a lot of people who have fallen into the Trump bubble, have been trained exactly the opposite. I don't think they think about the consequences of things at all. Like, at least not on a large scale, not on like a national scale. Go ahead. Sorry, Isaiah.
No, I was saying they only vote for him for vibes. It's symbology. It's how he makes them feel. It's not, like I was just watching like a protest against some like a Tesla protest between the pro Tesla people and the anti Tesla people, and the pro Tesla people are just like, oh, the people who are protesting, they're anti-American and they're communists. That's it. There's no substance there. It's just they don't like the fact that there's just nothing there.
Well,
it's all ad hominem.
Go back to Reagan, right? He did his shining city on a hill thing. Again, it's imagery, and I remember a painting of Reagan, and he had his foot up on a rampart with his arms folded, looking strong, and it's all image.
Yeah.
The same thing. That's why they think with Trump. They think Trump is tough because he'll say whatever, and he doesn't care about insulting people or hurting people.
Yeah.
And they like that.
Or they see that as being
sizzle
tough.
versus steak.
Another thing that irritates me is, the very small picture thinkers, in that they cling to anecdotes. You can tell them about here's all the people who went through this, and here's this trend, and here's this chart, and so on. They don't care about that. But if you share one story about one person they were able to find, you provide an example of this team, and they find a way to twist it. They latch onto that. That gets to them. It's like, okay, because of this one person, or maybe even two people, we need to screw over 500,000 other people. It's so frustrating.
Well, they're looking for an excuse.
That's what they do to people on the left, right? What they'll do is they'll find the most extreme person on the left that they can use as an example, and then they'll try to make that out to be representative of the group. Like, if you remember
Big Red or something like that, or that woman that was like this.
Well, there's one woman who ended up being known as Chanty Binks, that basically, she was arguing with the MRA guys, and then she called the guy
exactly
and all that. And look, okay, whatever, she's a young person, and maybe she made a few mistakes, but they latch on, and they're like, that's feminism. Like, no, that's one young person who lost her temper because the people that she was arguing with are assholes.
I need to clarify.
You projected this out because you wanted to. You wanted to paint feminism as this extreme radical thing.
I need to set the record straight. She was not losing her temper there. She was actually very calm in that moment. And the other guys were shouting at her. And they just happened to catch a frame where her face was contorting between
she looks
two
mad.
different words, which happens to everybody, and they stuck to that.
Or that one woman with the...
I'm not talking about a frame. I'm saying when she called the guy a fuckface. Again, she was reacting to the guys being assholes to her.
Oh, okay, By the way,
Joe, are you able to talk?
Oh yeah, I can talk now. I wasn't sure.
Go for it,
because I'm using the phone one. So
no problem.
Going back to where we were before, with talking about losing your darlings with a story, I have this story that I'm working on. It's still kind of in notes thing. I've come up with a fun title, Second Richest Man. The basic premise is came from a conversation I had about what wish would do the most good for the world. And my example was that at a random day on every month, the person who has the control of the most personal wealth dies in their sleep.
I'm on board with this.
And the premise of the story is that, and I eventually got rid of the wish portion of it, the explanation. It's just a thing the world has been dealing with for over a year, and it's finally picked up on the pattern. And how society has changed based on, everyone trying to be the second richest person at any given time, or try to guess based on when it happened last month, when the day is, and be the second richest. And after I came up with that title, I thought it'd be a fun like running joke. Like somebody will bring up is like, hey, has it ever happened that a woman happened to be the person in the church with the most wealth? And then somebody's like, no, just hasn't come up, and just not address whether somebody's going to do that at some point, just because the natural inclination of the most wealthy is like, yeah, women just don't get to have that.
That's a really great idea.
That's actually, you know how they say there's no new stories? That's a new story. I'm sorry.
It is.
Yeah,
It's such a great.
really
I mean,
that breaks out the mold.
The premise is inherently satirical and funny, and like all of the different directions you could go with it are kind of, invested in the core idea. It's such a good idea. I'm jealous. I wish I had thought of that shit. It's such a good idea.
He needs to make his political advisor a man called Harry Specs from the Greek Harry speech. Someone who reads the entrails of things to read the future. But I was going to say just quickly, my aunt called this morning. She's sometimes calls to hustle because Mum owed us some money, although I don't know if she'll ever get it because it's over about £5,000. So probably not a chance this side of heaven or hell, unless I die and inherit the lottery. Anyway, she called up and I told her I'd had a fall, and she's slightly. Well, she's not slightly left or right. She's just slightly nuts, or maybe a lot nuts. She's the one who, when the war in Gaza erupted, said, "Oh, it's World War III. We're all going to die. There are going to be rivers of blood flowing down from." Because she lives in the outskirts of Birmingham in the UK. They're flowing down from Birmingham City. We're all going to die. Oh, my girls and I are going to head into the bunker. Right. Auntie Pam, great. You go there. You just don't call me. So she called up and said I'd had a fall. It's because you had 3 COVID vaccines.
Oh, fucking hell!
Have you seen?
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's definitely a direct cause and effect there.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Yeah.
I had them over 3 years ago.
I fell down because I got a vaccine.
Oh, I'm going to have a fall. I had my 4th one just recently, not that long ago.
Yeah, it's.
Thanks for
calling.
I had my first one. Who said you'll touch your computer screen, it'll all flicker to life. And my first thought was, really? I won't have to press it on. I can just touch my headphones or touch my ears and talk to Steve and everything. I don't have
sounds
to
okay to me. Yeah.
Chris Rock did a joke. Chris Rock did a joke like 30 years ago, where he's talking about how if you're a black guy and you date a white woman, that all your friends, anything that goes wrong in your life, they blame it on dating the white woman. He's like, you hear about Chris? Get out? Chris got hit by a bus, walking around with them white chicks.
Apparently, I just don't get how most humans think, because this really is confusing me. Like how people have it so backwards. Because I would think if someone was like coming down with they were getting all these different problems, then you would blame the virus. The thing that exists explicitly to hurt and kill people and is pretty good at it. But no, they blame the cure, not even the cure, just the mitigation for the virus.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn stupid, and it can't stand people.
People have access to grind, and they grind them on whatever's in front of them, basically. I mean, that's Anyway, Julian, your hand's up. Go for it, buddy.
Sure. Take us 2 things. Quick, just apropos of Joe's story, I was reminded that DC crowds at concerts are sort of notorious for not dancing. There's a song by the DC band Dismemberment Plan called "Doing the Standing Still" about DC crowds. And
perfect.
One kind of popular theory for why that is that in the 1990s, Ian MacKaye of Fugazi used to pick out whoever was kind of moshing the hardest in the crowd and say, "Get that guy out of here." He didn't want people getting hurt at the show. But a theory is that what happened was, because he did this, he was known to do this, nobody wanted to be the person dancing hardest. But when everyone's trying not to be the person dancing hardest, it created a kind of race to the bottom until everyone's just kind of swaying instead of dancing.
Variations on the same
30 years later.
Yeah, it's like a fascinating sociological thing to
just the second thing is the discussion earlier of autism awareness reminded me that, and probably a lot of you guys have read this already, but there was just some fantastic reporting in Mother Jones this week about based on interviews with the families of some of the people who were shipped off to that gulag in El Salvador. And it's becoming increasingly clear. It's bad enough to deport actual gang members without due process, but it's becoming increasingly clear that many of these people are not any kind of criminal, and what they're essentially just doing is rounding up people with tattoos that ICE agents don't understand. One of them was an autism awareness tattoo.
I see it.
Guys had, out of respect for his little brother, and I guess somehow some ICE agent decided, I don't understand what this is, and there's a kind of shocking number of these stories where someone had a Real Madrid tattoo, someone had
it was a soccer one that has just a soccer with a crown on it as well too, for like a football player.
So there's just a kind of horrifying pile of these stories.
I mean,
anyway, the article is worth reading. It's very good.
Can we show him a fucking picture of the Secretary of Defense with his shirt off? Because he's got some fucking tattoos that maybe he could be deported over.
Does.
But is he white or is he not?
Well, that's exactly. He's the wrong shade.
He's the guy with the Deus Vult on one of his arms. God commands or whatever that is. But
God wills it.
Yeah, God exactly.
I saw a cartoon of him on Twitter earlier where someone had like translated the tattoos into like literal sort of meanings, and the one on his arm just said weird Nazi shit.
Which is it's basically the one that was used both for the Albigensian Crusade, the killing, and I can't remember the name, but the Albigensian Crusade will do, and for was it for the Malleus Maleficarum, the killing of the murdering of the witches? And it was murder.
The witch hunters Bible thing.
What the Malleus Maleficarum?
The Malleus Maleficarum.
Anyways, serious mind.
Serious.
I'm gonna give you the floor.
So I did a thing last night because I was gonna do a different video and about the whole signal thing, because Steve missed the trick. He did his great video about the
title thing,
and missed and I thought that because he actually said the signal's coming from inside the house, and I'm like, that should have been the name of the video, and I'm like, do you mind if I use it? He said, yeah, go ahead. But instead I did a different one. I said, you bet your Russian assets. Basically, I've come to the unassailable conclusion, I think, that Trump is a Russian asset. And whether he knows it or not is irrelevant, because you can be a foreign asset and not know it.
True.
You can get co-opted. You could be whatever. And people, and now mind you, I think he's actually an active asset, because people have made the point that he went to Russia in the 80s and then he started going down this path. Plus the fact that the Russians are the only ones willing to finance his financial empire, such as it is. And so if he runs afoul of the Russians, everything he's got left collapses, right? He has got no fun. No one else is willing to touch him because, fraud and all that. But you think about what he's done. You think about, if you've ever seen the movie, The Manchurian Candidate.
I have both ones.
The idea that a soldier gets captured, he gets brainwashed, and then he runs for president, and he's there to basically be a sleeper agent to basically turn the U.S. over to China. Trump has done more in 2 months than the writer of the Manchurian Candidate ever dreamed of his character doing in a year.
That's true.
And if you think about it, what's he doing? He's breaking up all of our alliances. He's alienating from our friends, our economic partners. He's destroying the economic partnerships. He's hurting the economy. He's sowing internal strife. He's by member means we just talked about with ICE, right? He basically turned the ICE into brown shirts. He's ignoring the courts. He's doing everything. If you wanted to tear the United States down, take it down several pegs, because even just say he has an MI tomorrow, right? And just say J.D. Vance, look, J.D. Vance is going to be bad, but he doesn't have the cult behind him. So at some point in time, that administration will be gone. It will take decades, if ever, to recover the damage he's done just in 2 months, and he's still got 46 fucking months, 45 and a half months left.
And see, that's the part that makes me. Sorry, go ahead.
So the thing is that if you're Vladimir Putin, right? Just say he was a KGB guy. He was very unhappy that the Soviet Union fell. If you could have planned anything as Vladimir Putin as to what you could do to get back at your arch enemy, it would be Trump. Yeah, in a nice little bow. And again, he's not done. And even when you look at even what's starting to happen now, you're seeing like the big capitalists are starting to get worried too, because what he's doing is bad for them.
Yes.
By ruining our economic future, and the market's going crazy because the markets don't like chaos. Markets like, even when the news is bad, if the news is predictably bad, they're okay. It's kind of like that speech in The Dark Knight when
as long as there's a plan,
Harvey Dent, as long as it's going according to plan, no one panics. But when it goes against the plan, well, everyone loses their mind.
Yeah.
So this is what's going on now, and like now Canada, the Canadian Prime Minister came and said, "Hey, that relationship is over."
Yeah.
Now this is our closest ally.
I mean, I don't see it happening, but
and now that relationship is in tatters. So watch the video. It's like 10 minutes long, and I just lay it all out. But yeah, I think there's no other way to say it. But he is a Russian asset, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah.
And until his own party is willing to stand up with him, because that's the thing, there's no mechanism to get rid of him other than without the assent and approval and cooperation of a significant number of members of his party, 5 people in the House and 13 in the Senate currently. So unless that happens, or unless JD Vance wants to, Article 20, 25, 25th Amendment him. And again, that requires, it would take what, 2/3 or 3/4 of the.
That's not realistic. Yeah.
So that's why, when I said to Nick, when no one's doing anything, because there are no mechanisms in our system, because the system was built around the idea that most of the people in government would actually give a fuck about preserving democracy.
I mean, look, the only way it's going to happen is if the military or the police decide that they would rather be loyal to their country than to this king, and they physically go into the Oval Office and arrest him. But that's not going to happen.
No, that's
that's a scene from a movie.
Unless he gives the military patently illegal orders, then that might happen. That would be about it.
Yeah.
The closest they've come is and I've seen this with American brigadiers actually saying to Trump, if you do this, it means our loss of soft power, and we need soft power. We need the ability to negotiate with Canada, with Mexico, with Cuba, with all of the others, because if we don't have that, it means war, and I have to get more bullets, and I have to mobilize my troops, and we have to march. And now it's getting to the stage where I think a lot of the countries adjacent to the US are going to say, look, we'll have to start taking refugees in, because if he's going to imprison them, we'd rather take them as refugees than have them imprisoned in your country.
Does anybody in that administration understand how many wars have been avoided by the use of soft power, by USAID? They have basically, I mean, just preventing sickness, preventing hunger, preventing who knows how many different other tragedies. USAID has done the grunt work on that.
But that, I mean, and that doesn't matter because they are ideologically opposed to it. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Like, I think,
in the few days after President Carter's death, and the Carter was saying, we've managed to basically eradicate guinea worm. There are now 7 provisional cases, 7 from 3 million.
Yeah,
that's amazing. People were saying, yes, but they've actually arranged meetings between opposing sides. Yes, but they haven't been firing guns at one another.
Exactly. Like, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
They've gone to sit down at the table and talk.
Yeah.
They've gone into places that you wouldn't go. This has stopped wars. This has stopped famines. This has brought people up. And as Christopher Hitchens says, the way you bring people up is not to push them down, but to actually employ. He was very into employing women, give them a small salary.
Yeah, you empower them. Absolutely.
Bring economic power. Sorry, I'd be deaf and dumb without my hands. Bring economic power up, and then you bring the nation up. But it's not It's like that terrible Wild Wild West remake when Kevin Kline plays it. Yeah, and I know
Oh,
you're
yeah.
your attitude is go into a place, fire a gun, fire some more, fire again, fire just one last time, and then maybe, just maybe, ask questions. It's such a stupid film, but that line is so good because it's typical of the. I'm sorry, it gets me really angry.
No, you're
it's dumpster fire.
Well, to Steve's point about the ideology, you know, I've had multiple conversations with conservatives when it comes to like how we deal with crime, right, and how we deal with the criminal justice system. And I've pointed out that like the Scandinavian models have a much lower recidivism rate, like somewhere between 10 to 20%, depending on which country you're talking about, whereas ours is about 70 to 75%.
Yeah.
So I get these people. I'm like, do you acknowledge that these numbers are real? Because if they don't believe the numbers, the conversation not going to go anywhere. So they'll agree that yes, that their method, you know, gets people to recommit crimes less often, which means brings the overall crime down. So I'm like, so you recognize that means you will be safer, your family will be safer, your property will be safer. Yes. So let's do that. No. Why? Because in their mind, that person that you're helping that was committed a crime, they don't deserve it.
Exactly.
So therefore, I'm like, yeah, but it helps you too, you stupid asshole.
So if I can,
Americans are very vengeful people.
That's it.
They are focused on punishment, not on reclamation or what's the proper term?
It's punitive versus curative. They
exactly
rehabilitation,
and they are morally opposed to curative because they don't like. Again, this is Calvinism. The idea that the wicked do not deserve to have anything done for them. It doesn't matter if it helps anybody else that does deserve it, because they are undeserving. They are not in God's favor, and they are not deserving of anything. You should lift a finger to help them because they do not deserve it. And this is a twisted ideology. And so, you get someone says, yes, that would help me, but you can't help me by helping them too, or else I don't want it.
Yeah, it's if I can quote Clint Eastwood's character from Unforgiven, deserves got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But you'll never convince the people that we were just talking about of that. And then right after Clint Eastwood says that, he fucking kills a whole bunch of people. So they should have listened to him.
So, you know, like you said, it's going to take decades. It's going to take like 100 years to get back everything that Trump and his ilk will have taken away when this is over. But that's what's so dispiriting. Is like, is this just the natural life cycle of culture? That, you know, things get a little good for a while, and then overnight, bam, reset.
No.
Okay, let's try to build it back up, and then someday there'll be another Trump, and then bam, again. And we're just never going to get any higher because there'll always be another Trump, another low point you know.
I think the trick is to try to get a little further each time when you're on the rebound.
But see, that's what worries me is I don't think I was like, is that even possible? Or I was like, each time, okay, we almost made as far as we were before, and now we're done. And then so like steadily we go gradually down.
But we're not the only country in the world, right?
So,
So
there's a factor.
And this is one of the reasons why who's on top has always changed over time. No one stays on top forever. And so now it looks like it's going to be Poland. Poland is about to pass Japan in per capita GDP. They're building the strongest military in Europe. They're, you know, becoming, financial wizards, and their economy is, exploding. And nobody would have believed that even 30 years ago, let alone 50 or 100 years ago. So you just never know. At one time, Portugal and Spain are on top of everything, and it just goes. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be in a dark ages for a while, and it's also going to lead to brain drain. A lot of people who are smart, who don't want to have to live under any kind of tyranny, are going to go.
Okay, but Kara, before you jump in, Raphael, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I don't know if somebody mentioned before. I see it in the chat, in the sidebar. We're talking about an example of late stage imperialism, particularly Western imperialism. You mentioned Portugal, France, those have gone to one to the other, and then all that handed in the United States. The last things the United States have right now is security guarantees, so they can tell other people, hey, don't worry about it. Don't build your military to this point because we're your guarantor of security. And having a huge consumer base. In other words, if you sell to the American market, you will make far more money than you could do anywhere else. But now you have the Chinese market and the European market company in that area, and then America saying, "Oh, you got to pay for your own defense." Well, prepare for a third or fourth Reich, right? Because that's how the United States stopped Germany from being another Reich. It's like, don't worry, you don't have to build the Übermenschen. We have the tanks and missiles to cover your butt. Don't worry about it. And now we're seeing the last dregs of imperialism, of like pure, unadulterated gangsterism. Like, I just want that oil well. I don't care about anything else. I just put my troops there to take care of that oil well. And everybody's like, oh, that's all you want? So people say, okay, I'll sell it to you. So people say, no, you can't have it. We'll build our own forces and you got to fight for it. And every time you fight for it, you lose more than you gain. The oil well gets destroyed and you get nothing. Ultimately, I think it's the brain drain, as you mentioned. Modern military technology, modern era, the information age requires people who can actually parcel information. If those people are not learning that in school and in going to college or other forms of education, they will not be there. And then you can have somebody with a rifle or, with a touchpad going, oh, this is fine, but they will not, you will have nobody who will understand beyond that surface level, and you won't be able to compete.
Okay, Kara, just don't jump in. We have three. We're in the final portion of the show. Three people have their hands up. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just just shut the fuck up. It's okay. I'm kidding. I love you. I love you. You're great. But no. So Russell, your hand's been up for a while. What you got for us?
Hey, Steve. Ironically, speaking about Trump, I was watching Lois and Clark this morning, and Tempest being one of my favorite villains.
Oh, yes.
I was watching the last appearance of him where he takes the White House.
Where he runs for president. Yeah, I love that episode. Yeah.
And when he's in office, everything he does mirrors Trump. And I don't know how I missed that. He even quotes, "Make America Great Again."
Yeah. Well, because that was Reagan. That started with Reagan. That was a Reagan thing. Yeah.
And so this is 20 years before Trump took his first presidential run. I'm thinking, you guys should have watched this episode. You should have already been warned.
Maybe he did, and that's where he got the idea.
2016 to 2020 should have helped out.
Hey, for real. Trump is Biff Tannen.
Yeah.
And like Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, but and the main reason why we can't say that Trump is a direct analog for Tempest is because Tempest is genuinely smart and charming. Like even though he's the villain, like he's evil, but he's a very charming, intelligent, engaging character.
Which Steve Kane I learned that lesson.
Oh,
it's just a bit stuffy.
Okay, Russell, did you have something else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thanks. You're done. Okay. Rob, at long last.
Polarity going on here.
Wait, what now?
I'm sorry, my husband just come in saying you seem to be having a good time.
Yeah, well. Okay, Rob, go for it.
Okay, a couple of items. One, just to kind of go back to when we were talking about slogans. I wrote down slogans take advantage of maleducation, but really slogans exploit education. In your context, I'm a left-wing Canadian, like Marxist Canadian. So I have a different analysis. If we want to look at Democrat versus Republican, Republicans are using these slogans because they're like the groundwork is already there. Make America great again. That depends on a whole bunch of knowledge within the people they're trying to motivate.
Yeah,
it's wrong knowledge, but it's still there. That's what they're doing. Whereas, let's say a Democrat, it's like, well, I got it in my slogan. I have to educate.
Yeah.
And so it's a long rambling thing, and it's just like, well, knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
No. It's book torn artillery barrage.
Sure.
But I also wanted to, when you guys were talking about the Trump as a sleeper agent, made me think of Steve. You did that video where you're basically his Russian handler.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
And it's just such a great sort of. It's one of those things where it's like, well, of course he's an asset, but he's a willing asset. He is a shill that volunteers. No, you don't have to pay me. I'm here for it.
Exactly.
Okay, all that out of the way. I wanted to go back to writing, and I was wondering, like, for me, there's certain things I can that just roll off the tongue. But a lot of times I have to use motivation techniques, including I'll set a 5-minute timer. And if I get 5 minutes in, yay me. A lot of times though, that 5 minutes does turn into a full 25 minutes because I'm like, I'm going now. The timer goes off. But I'm wondering I'd love to hear what other people's ideas are to keep them at the keyboard. You know,
so
that's
usually,
what I'm curious about.
For me, usually, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, they can, but please keep it brief. But
I think that's a hint to me.
I try to everybody. But I don't necessarily. I don't think I've ever done the timer thing, but I know that works for a lot of people. But sometimes I'll bribe myself by saying, you know, if I get through this page, I'll go have another cup of coffee. You know, or something like that. Like if there's something that I want in that moment, like if I want another cup of coffee while I'm sitting there, I'll tell myself, you don't get it until you write this much, you know, that kind of thing. Or I'll feel like taking a break, but I'll have a portion that I'm writing where like, I know where I'm going. I just need to get there. And I'll tell myself, you finish this, you know, like write to the point where you know what you need to write. And then you're at a point after that where I'm going to have to think up some more stuff. You know, I can't just write out what's in my head. I have to, you know, create some more stuff. So go to that point and then take a little break, clear your head and come back. Like that kind of thing tends to work for me. But if anybody else,
two small things. One, I write kind of like the same way I build a computer program. And I'm a very much top-down thinker. So I build a structure, a framework. Some people, and it's not really an outline, but it's kind of like, okay, what are, in a broad strokes, what are the pieces, parts, and so what are the beats, what's the timeline? Because if I got that, now everything, I can do whatever I want within those as long as they fit within the architecture. And so that will often motivate me because then I'll start thinking, oh, I want this to happen or I want that to happen, and then I may struggle on how to word it but I've already got a structure and I know where I'm starting, I know where I'm ending, and I have a reasonable idea of how I'm moving in the middle. The other thing though for me is I can't write when I'm not inspired or motivated because my writing is atrocious. And I used to write poetry. I don't really have it in a long time because the poetry happened when I was in a time of like a lot more emotional turmoil where I got a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So the poetry I wrote when I was either at my highest highs and my lowest lows, I really think is really good. And anything I've just written just because like, oh, it's this and that, it's absolute bullshit. It's complete garbage.
Yeah. That actually brings up something else that reminds me of another, like, when I am feeling inspired, when I do feel like the muse has touched me, I do feel like, okay, I need to write until this runs dry because I'm not sure when it's going to hit again. You never know when the muse will visit. And if I'm writing something and I finish it, I'm like, let's say I'm writing a video script and I finish it and I'm like, oh, this is good. I can go with this. And then I have another idea. Like, I feel like I need to at least get it started. I can't just let it sit because it's here now. And if I might forget it, it might go away. I might lose interest, but I like it now. And I know it's a good idea. Like when the inspiration strikes, like, I feel like I have to, like, I've even gotten out of bed. Like I've gone to bed and then gotten an idea and I've had this debate with myself. Is this worth getting out of bed for? To turn the computer back on and write this down? And almost always I'm like, okay, I need to, like, I need to write this down.
You haven't got out of bed and pulled out all your notebooks to find the one you've got your latest story in. Just scribbled out
sometimes I'll just if it's something that I feel like I can keep it brief, I'll just do it on my phone. Like I always have my phone like within arm's reach when I'm in bed, and I'll be like, all right, I don't need to like sit down in my chair and open like a Google Doc and actually write this down. I can just do that on my phone and just thumb out, like a sentence or two, so that when I read that, when I wake up the next morning, I'll be like, okay, that's where I was going, and I can get back to it. Isaiah. Okay, Kara, yeah, go ahead.
The one time I actually wrote what I would call an inspired poem. I actually won a cup for it, which was quite yeah. I won the it was a church prize, and I'm an atheist, which is worse.
Well,
it was,
prize is a prize.
I'll do it quickly. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of Bede and the sparrow. All the atheist kings are sitting in the hall, and the sparrow sweeps through this big Saxon hall. One minute it's there, and 1 minute isn't. And Bede basically says, this is what human life's like. 1 minute you're in darkness, then it's the brightness of the hall, and then you're in darkness again. And I wrote a whole poem about this Bede's bird, and actually won a prize.
Very cool.
Cool.
It was. I'll have to dig out the photo. And
okay, so what's the writing advice? What's the writing advice? And I want to see Isaiah's shit on drone things and going around the room. Yeah.
Okay, Isaiah.
Okay, Isaiah, go for it.
3 things, lightning fast.
Yes.
So I know I said on Ask Away that I wanted to show some of my like a schematic or something of like ship. This is the engine room that I just sketched. The matter engine room that I just sketched. It's actually quite different. These 2 spheres here are the
very cool.
It's like a combustion chamber for the antimatter. These are the feed hoses to the like that go into the nacelles, into like up the pylons into the nacelles to generate the warp field. So there's that. I went to get my helmet for my 80s astronaut costume. I got it. I was able to get it cut. So now it does the clamshell.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Helmets actually used to do. It's a clamshell now.
That's awesome.
And and getting back to the whole the ice thing.
Yeah.
I mean, taking people with autism tattoos. I don't have one, but if that's where we're going, and if it comes to the fact that if I criticize Trump or something and they send me to El Salvador, I'm gonna fight back. I would rather die than be whisked away by a bunch of fascists. It's like that scene from Balance of Terror from TOS. It's like, yes, I am willing to make myself expendable if it means not going to El Salvador during a fascist takeover.
Well,
yes,
I mean,
I'm willing to die and fight and die to avoid being killed by a fascist. Yes.
I think if they keep doing this kind of thing, eventually it's going to come to that. I mean, it's people are going if it becomes like accepted as just a conventional bit of knowledge that, they're just taking people they don't like and shipping them to El Salvador or to someplace else. Like if that becomes like even more normalized than it already has, then yeah, I mean, people aren't going to go quietly. Like there are already stories.
Have phasers and torpedoes for a reason. Yes, they go around. But yeah, don't piss one off.
I mean, there are already stories of like ICE agents showing up in like neighborhoods or apartment buildings or something, and like the neighbors basically pushing them out.
Yeah,
I mean, it hasn't happened all that often, unfortunately. There are still more stories of them taking people than those kinds of, but you do see those stories where, they'll show up and they will be outnumbered by the number of people in that area that are basically saying this ain't happening today, and they'll back off.
Yeah. In fact, one of the first ICE raids was here in New Jersey, and they picked up this guy who's Puerto Rican. He's like, he's an American citizen, you assholes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you know, people closed in on the, you know, agents, and this is why I made the video, because I've seen them saying like now that they're going to actually start going after, you know, content creators who are, you know, critical of the administration. So I didn't, but that's why I actually felt I needed to. I'm like, you know what, you come after me. You know, if you want to try it,
You know,
but we need
let people see you locking up American citizens for using their free speech that you claim to hold sacrosanct.
That's right.
Like, let people see you doing that.
I'm an old dude, you know. I'm a lot closer to the end of my life than the beginning, so better that it be me than, you know, like someone like Nick or Isaiah who's had their whole life ahead of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm a lot older than the bunch of ya. I haven't armed myself yet, but if I start seeing shit coming down, I will absolutely make the investment. Don't you doubt it. And my granddad taught me how to shoot. My granddad was an Elyria police cop, and you didn't mess with him. You simply did not.
I want to did this before you start dropping bombs on us. Just putting it out there.
Believe me,
as a Canadian in the room, yes.
I don't want to be bombing Canada either. So like we're definitely on the same page with that. Too many good wrestlers come from Canada. Fuck up Canada.
Avril Lavigne is from Canada. Avril Lavigne is from Canada.
Avril Lavigne, you know, Avril Lavigne.
All the American comedians come from Canada.
I mean, Bret Hart,
Shatner,
you know,
from Canada.
Ryan Reynolds is
William
from Canada.
Shatner, Shatner's from Canada.
Mike Myers, for crying out loud.
Brian, Martin Short. Come on. Are we gonna bomb the homeland of Martin Short? Is this who we've become as a people?
Andrea Martin.
Andrea Martin. Yeah.
The Canada arm for the space.
Well, the US did try and invade Canada about 200 years ago. It didn't work out very well for them.
That's true. Yeah.
Admittedly, it was the British in charge then, but I can't see it ending any.
We got a song out of it, at least. We got a song out of it.
Whatever anybody says.
Yeah.
I do want to underline this before we get to we're all getting played on either whatever border you're behind. Yeah. We're all getting played by the super rich and their odious toadies.
Yes.
So I say this in solidarity with Americans, Mexicans, Greenlanders, not a nation versus nation thing. Because we're all honestly, we're all sorry, I'm gotta drop an F sharp here. We're all getting by these assholes.
Nice. Look at that. He bleeps himself. Not necessary, but I appreciate the effort. Okay, now, Lauren, you had your hand up. Go ahead. And then we get to Serious Mind, and then that's the end of the goddamn show.
Okay, just really quick, I wanted to mention that for once, the reason why I'm here is because I don't have my red coat on. I'm not working a show today, but this afternoon, after I leave here, which will probably be as soon as I'm done here, we're off to the Hannah Theater to see Twelfth Night.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and I've written, Steve, I've said it before. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Steve. If you ever make it up to Cleveland, we're going to Playhouse Square. We'll find something.
I would love to.
You would have the time of your life up here. I am serious.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
On that note, I'm going to bail. You guys take care. With any sort of luck, we'll see you in a month.
All right. You take care too.
Take good care, all of you.
Good to see you again.
See you, Lauren.
I'm in the Kennedy Space Center in like 2 weeks. I already got the tickets.
Nice.
Very cool.
Nice. Okay, serious. Go for it. And then I swear to God, that's the end of the show.
You know, I thought I was gonna say it earlier, forgot, but then actually something Rob said reminded me. Now I'm not a leftist. I'm not a Marxist. I am on the political left, but not a leftist. But I am good. But I'm going to be making a video. I've been planning this video for ages, and I'm finally going to do it soon. And it's going to be called "Capitalists Are Ruining Capitalism."
Yep.
Because
I like the title. Yeah,
and basically the premise is that, you know, even if you accept the idea, if you're in the milieu of, you know, the means of production are in private hands, what they're doing is actually bad and deleterious for the system that they like. Because the whole thing about any market economy, you know, you want to look at the Europeans because then they're all market economies too, and Japan is, and China is kind of, is that they work, whatever makes them work to the degree that they work, whatever makes them work is the flow of money. Is that money changes hands? You have value added, or labor adds value to raw materials, and then you sell it, and it gets more money. It actually generates wealth.
Right.
So it's you know, so materials plus labor equals wealth. Well, when you concentrate wealth in the hands of a very small number of people, the engines that make a market economy flow stop flowing, because the people, the consumer class at the bottom and the middle, don't have money to buy the products that the wealthy are trying to hawk to them. So the economy can't grow. You can't grow an economy by lowering taxes of wealthy people. It doesn't ever work. It can't, it actually literally can't work. You know, the whole idea of trickle down economics, it is voodoo. It was always voodoo. And Kansas proved it when they went to full trickle down, and the state, you know, was on the verge of economic collapse, you know, under Brownback. So the idea is that if you actually believe in a market economy, you need the spending classes to have money so that the whole engine can turn. So that's the premise. I'm going to do the whole video here, but I
agree with you. That idea of trickle down economics. Oh, we'll give the wealthy more money and then they'll spend more. No, they won't. They'll take the money and they'll hoard it in some offshore account somewhere.
They said so.
Well, and the thing is, they can't exactly. They can't. I figured the math out the other day. If you spent from the day you were born until the day you die, and you lived to 100, and you died on your 100th birthday, if you spent $25,000 a day, you still would not have spent $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like 937 million and change.
And like the point you made about, and I'll reiterate this, and then we're done. The idea of like, you need to put money into the hands of the people, you know, who are going to spend it. Like that's the point.
To see my husband.
No, not necessarily.
that's my husband. The one who...
Hello. But like so you you need to.
Yeah.
You need.
I was just
you need
say,
to.
we live.
Yeah.
We live in a fairly small village.
Yeah.
Relatively.
Yeah.
You're saying, Steve?
7 years that are about to close down.
Hang on, he's not done yet.
We have a beauty parlour that's been there for 16 years. That has just closed down and moved to another area of the village.
I don't know what you two see in each other.
Greedy landlord.
You seem like you seem like such opposites. But anyway, okay. So anyway, but no,
sorry, I've got my husband giving me iterations about everybody closing down around us in our small village, and me going, for the love of God, sweetheart, not now.
But anyway, okay, to get back to the point that I was making. So because it reminds me actually of, we talked earlier about USAID, and we'll just take care of that. It reminds me of what we were talking earlier about USAID, and about, you know, it's not just the loss of like soft power and the ability for the United States to affect things internationally without having to use force. It's also the fact that pretty much all of the money that was spent on USAID programs was ultimately spent to buy our shit.
Right.
Like, we give them money to buy stuff from us.
Right. We give them,
so
you don't need to give them cash. We give them credits that they get to spend here.
Like so it ultimately, we're not losing anything. You know, and the idea, and it's the same thing with with social welfare programs. If you put money into the hands of poor people, they're not going to sock it under their mattress and hoard it. They're going to spend it on stuff, and that's good. That's a good thing for everybody. You know. So anyway, I believe that'll do it for this show. We're ending this. We're ending this fucker right now.
Please check out charity.link.page because just now, John Roberts has like a DM me on Discord asking if I have money to spare. I will give her money, but I want to point this out that this frequently happens at the end of the month, and like because she needs $1,000 every single month in order to make ends meet. I wish people regularly give my friends like money as well, so if they can.
Links in the live chat.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
The problem is that there's this idea that, and this is why lots of quiz shows and lots of places won't give people money. They've got this strange idea that they'll take, I know, the $5,000 and suddenly run off and spend it on drugs. No, 95% of them will spend it on food.
Exactly.
On
well, even if they did, that still fuels the economy.
It's like because the drug dealer's going to need to buy groceries eventually.
It's like this economic thing they've done with the monkeys, and the monkeys have learned that they can steal sunglasses.
Gold-plated Ferraris are built by workers.
If you give the monkeys a bag of peanuts that you can buy from vendors, the monkeys will drop the sunglasses. They'll give you your sunglasses back. They then find that the monkeys are taking these peanuts and giving them to the female monkeys for sex, so that the monkeys are getting sex, and then the monkeys are getting a token from the female monkeys that they can put into machines. I mean, I swear, this has been going on for years. So if this doesn't show a learning capability in primates, I don't know what does.
It's just free market economics.
Well, the thing about real quick is that the right wing doesn't seem to understand that the size of the economy is not a constant. That someone doesn't have to lose for someone else to win.
Exactly.
That you can actually grow the pie. It's not, people say it's not pie. Well, it's pie that you can grow or shrink depending on what you do. But say a lot of them would rather be, have 90% of a tiny pie than, 10% of a gigantic pie.
It's something somebody said. He's a political commentator in the UK. And I can't remember his name for the life of me. And he says, the problem is that Trump sees, and it's what you said as well, it's partly Trump sees everything as transactional. I have to get something for you to get something. But he also sees that he has to win. It can't be a 1-1 or a 0-0, or it can't be that you win and I don't win as much. I maybe lose a little. He's got to win every single time. I mean, the smug look on his face when he got to come back to this country. Not as it really matters to us. I mean, the shitbagging,
you call him a shitbag all you want. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
The monster can come to this country all his like, because it's only a ceremonial banquet, and quite frankly, most of us couldn't care less. But it's the smug look and say, "Oh, I've been allowed into this country. They all love me." No, Donald, we don't.
Well, he thinks everybody loves him. I mean, it's.
He also said he wanted to be part of the Commonwealth. I heard that somewhere too.
Yeah, of course, he has no idea what that would mean, because he would be far less important if we were part of the Commonwealth.
Exactly. Well, no, but it's he sees everything as transactional. He sees everything as a binary win or loss. There's no such thing as a mutually satisfactory deal where everybody can come away with what they wanted and be better off. It's always like, no, if a good deal is a deal that I win and you lose, and that's it.
Which means he's not even as morally evolved as a Ferengi.
No, exactly. That's why he sees every other entity in the world that is doing well as screwing us over. That's why he says the European Union is screwing us over. And what he means is the European Union is doing better than we are in certain categories. And that means, to him, they're screwing us over, because we should be doing the best. If we're not doing the best, then whoever is doing the best is fucking us up. That's how his mind works. That's why he views trade deficits in that way. Like, oh, Canada's stealing from us. What?
I mean,
there's a trade deficit.
The reason
that's how that works.
That we're doing slightly better than him is because we actually pour money into those. I can't think.
Well, the funny thing is, I was
watching like social care and medicine and
the welfare state. The welfare state.
the trade deficit.
We pour money into those.
I saw a stat on the trade deficit with the EU. Apparently, so I guess they get 900 billion from us, but it's at like a 10% markup. And because most of us, in our case, it's software, so it's a 50% markup. So we have $800 billion. So basically, we're clearing $400 billion on that trade, whereas they're getting like like 90 billion. So we're massively winning actually when you look at like the net markup. But
yeah, okay. Before we, I was gonna say before anybody says anything else. Bye everybody. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye, Steve.